Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I have had some people ask me. I had put up an image on my Instagram of where I used my friend Patrick's deck, the Living Wheel astrology cards, to lay out my birth chart in card form. And so I've had a couple people ask me to show how I did that, just to kind of walk through the steps of it. And so it didn't fit. You can see my table's a little wonky here. You can see this is a chest that has like candles that I use, crystals and things like that. And this is got all kinds of my just random information and notes and things I use for reading. So this is my reading table with my wood piece taken off. Over here is lots of crystals and things like that. So maybe not as pretty, but at least we can kind of see this is melted candle from before I was using the wood that's there. So I'm going to walk through how you would lay this out with Patrick's cards. You could use any card system that you have, as long as you just need the houses, the signs, obviously the planets. Yeah, so you'll need a deck that has all three of those signs. So what you're going to need is the deck, like I just talked about, that has all the pieces of the puzzle. This is one of my issues with astrology decks, that don't have the full sentence, so to speak, of astrology, which are the planets, right? So we have the astrological bodies. They are not all planets. We do have the sun. We do have the moon. We do look at some asteroids as well, like Chiron. But you'll need the astrological bodies. We need the signs, so that's sort of the who, or what's this kind of the what of it. The signs are telling us how that energy is working, and the houses are telling us where that energy is working. And so you'll need, oops, I have something mixed up here. I don't know what I did. Here we go. 10, 11, 12. So you'll need all of those pieces of the puzzle. When you take some of those pieces away, you lose a piece of the sentence. So you'll need that. And then you'll need your birth chart. So I will leave a link below to a place, and also I like, at least with this deck especially, to know what was the phase of the moon when you were born. So I will leave a link where you can get something similar. It won't look exactly like this, but you'll get something similar like this that you can get for free. And then another link to where you can put in your birth date and be able to get what phase your moon was in. So I'm going to need the sun here, right? I also have out, because Patrick's deck has the season, so I was born in the fall, the first level of fall. So I'm going to set the rest of these cards into the box over here. Then it has all the different moon phases, right? But my moon phase that I was born under was in waxing crescent. And so I'm going to leave that one out. And if you're not sure, which one of these cards is waxing crescent, you can look, or whatever yours might be, you can find whatever yours is and see what the symbol is there and pick out the right one. So this is the sun, this is my moon when I was born, which was waxing crescent, and then I'm just having the fall card out because I love it and because that's my birth. So that takes care of the sun and the moon, so we can put the rest of these away. I'm leaving I'm leaving Chiron in, but I'm also leaving in the nodes because I like to see that. I'm going to take out the lunar eclipses, the lunar ones over here. This is the solar, because I'm not going to show those. Mine wasn't a lunar or a solar eclipse. And then all of the planets here, and I'm going to leave Chiron in because I like to see that. So in order to get your birth chart with the proper house placements, you are going to need your birth date, your birthplace, and your birth time. Some people do not have their birth time, and then what I would probably do if I were you, I suppose, and you still want to do this, is do maybe a sunrise chart. Or sometimes you might know, okay, you don't know your time, but you know you were born in the morning, or you know you were born at night. So you could either do a sunrise or a sunset, I suppose, chart. So it's not going to be as accurate in terms of the house placements and your rising sign, but it would at least give you something to work with. But ideally, to do something like this, birthplace, birth date, birth time. For your moon, to figure out what cycle your moon was in, you just need your birth date in order to do that. So, okay, so those are the pieces of the puzzle. Sorry, I'm trying to try to do this methodically. I'm going to put these away because we don't need these. And you also, I will show you, the other thing that I think is easiest is to put your birth chart in whole house, and I'll write this in the description box below. Whole sign. There are different ways to deal with the house system, and I'm sure I'm saying it's wrong. It's either Placides, that's how I say it, but that could be incorrect. Again, when you learn from reading versus hearing, that makes for horrible pronunciation. That's when you're going to see the most often, and that can get a little bit harder to lay this out exactly so, because you could have more than one sign in this particular house, so you would kind of have to straddle, so to speak. You know, if you kind of partially have Aries and Taurus in one of the houses, it's not going to line up as well. I prefer whole sign houses anyways. I've done my personal research, and I most resonate with whole sign house systems. When I do birth charts for people, though, I generally do the Placides just because that is what people are used to seeing, and they're like, wait a minute, I thought my so-and-so was in the first house. It's like, yeah, this is just a different sign system. And it just causes problems. So I generally use that. But for myself, my apps that I use are all set to the whole sign system. So up till this point, sorry, I'm trying to make sure that this is accessible and makes sense to people. So up to this point, you need a deck that has the signs, the houses, and the planetary bodies. You need your birth chart. In order to do it well, you need or to be fully accurate, you need your birthplace, birth time, and birthplace, birth time, and birth date. If you don't have your time, I would say do a sunrise or sunset chart, but be aware that your rising sign and your house placements are not going to be as accurate as if you had the time. So that's something to be aware of. Also, when you go to, and again, I will write this in the description box below, when you go to set up your house, to set up your chart, you're best off to use the whole sign system. And as you can see in mine, so you can see that one sign is ruling the first house and one sign is ruling the second house, and so forth. Instead of, I should have printed one out in the Placides, Placidus, who knows? I've heard several different ways. But if you use it in that standard format, you will see that you can have partial, whereas let's say that you would have, say, Scorpio maybe part way into the third house, with Libra being partly 2 and partly 3, and then Scorpio might be part way into 3 and then going into 4. You don't have a solid houses, which makes this really easy to do when you have the solid houses. So that's how we are in general. What you're going to do is look to your first house. We're going to lay our sign. So I would recommend lay your 12 houses out just like I did. So I've laid out 1 through 12 of the houses. Then have your sign cards in place. And you can put them in order. If you don't know the order of them, you're going to be able to obviously see your symbols right on your chart, but you can also look at the little white book or the little booklety thing. here, and so here are the signs, and there is the order of them. If you've already shuffled them, you can then put them back in order because you'll want them in order. That's how they'll go in into your chart. So you're going to look at your first house, which is also going to be your rising sign. It's going to be we're going to start for the first house. I'm a Leo rising. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and, whoops, and put them right side up. And find Leo, right? So Leo is going to be in my first house. I'm going to take these extra cards that were on top and put it onto the bottom, because the wheel just always goes in the same order. You're always going to have Aries, then Taurus, then Gemini, then Cancer, then Leo, and so on and so forth around. So it's just going to shift depending on where your rising sign is. And so I'm going to put those, in fact, I feel like there are more. I thought, in fact, that was all of them, but I'll pay attention as I'm laying them down. But you're going to start with the first house and your rising sign, which is Leo for me. So you're going to place that first one down, and you're going to simply go to your second one. Now, if you have these in order correctly, you should be able to just lay them out all the way until you get to Pisces. Let me make sure I've got them correct, just in case I didn't put them back in the right order. Aquarius and Pisces. And then it starts over, because again, it's a big wheel that continually goes around. So then we have Aries here, we have Taurus, we have Gemini, and I am missing Cancer. So I obviously didn't pull that one out, or it's over on my working table where I lay things out all the time. So let me just see if it's in here or over there. Over there, over here, over there. They're not there. It's not there, not there, not there, not there. Okay, let me go back over to my table. I think I have one laying out from this full moon. Okay, yes, we had the lunar eclipse full moon, which for me was in Cancer, and so, or probably for everybody, was in Cancer, and so it was over there on my working table. So now I have the signs being correctly laid, starting with my rising sign of Leo and going all the way around the wheel. I have my signs in place. Now I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. Here's my sun, my moon. These are like extra-y ones. I'm going to put this over to the side. Now, I've got some space constraints here. Obviously, if you're doing this on the table, which is where I did mine, it's not going to be as constrained. But in order to get everything to fit on the video, this is the amount of space that I have. So we may have to overlap some things for the sake of showing you how I'm doing this. So then you're simply going to go into each of your houses and see what are inside of them. Now this just has the ascendant sign, so I'm not worried about that, right? We already did that. It's in the first house. So now we're going to go into the second house, where obviously I have a few things, and we're going to find those particular cards. And what's nice is that the symbols are right on the bottom. Now we can go ahead and take Earth out, because Earth isn't going to be in your chart, because Earth is, you're standing in Earth. So in many ways that kind of goes straight in the center. So I'm going to pull those out of the way here. But you can see Mars is right here, and the symbols on the card, and any deck that you have should have the symbol on it, I would assume. So you have Mars there in the second house. So I know that in my second house, which, right, is here, we have Virgo is in the second house, ruling the second house, and we have Mars in there. So Mars is in the second, is in Virgo in the second house, so to speak. The next one that we have that's in there. Again, I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to overlap some things just so you can see what I am doing here. But here we have Jupiter in the second house. We also have Pluto in the second house. Let me grab Pluto here. Pluto in the second house, Oh, we might have been able to stretch those out a little bit more. And then we have Uranus in the second house. So let's see, we can kind of slide those down. You can't really see the signs, but that's okay. You don't need to on mine. So again, because just because of space constraint. So then we go on to the third house, which we can see we have the sun. So here's the sun card is in the third house, as well as my south node. So that's something I like to look at because it has to do with where you're coming from in terms of past lives. It's something I look at. So I like to have that in place. As well as, and of course this is in Libra, which is my sun sign. And then we also have Mercury. So here's Mercury. I think you can see all three of those. Yeah, so we don't have to squish those. So that's in my third house. Then I'm going to look in my fourth house, right? And so here we have Venus. And we have Neptune. And then in the fifth house, we have my moon, which again, my moon is a waxing crescent. So I'm just going to use the waxing crescent so that it shows up there. So there's my moon, and that's all I have in the fifth house. And then I have what's called a seesaw pattern to mine, where I'm kind of heavy on one side, heavy on the other side. So it's got kind of like a seesaw here, although it's mostly heavy over on this side. So I have some empty houses. So the sixth house is empty, the seventh house is empty, the eighth house is empty. The ninth house has a Chiron in the ninth house. This is an asteroid. You don't have to use that. I like to use that because, again, it has an indication of where your greatest wounds are, is where you become the strongest as well with healing. It's called the Wounded Healer. It also has my North Node in it, which is where I'm going towards reincarnation-wise, or in this life, so to speak. And then we also have the last planetary body here with Saturn, who's also known as the Lord of Karma. So it's kind of interesting to have these, really all three of these together in this house. For me, that's interesting. So then I don't have anything. I know that there are some other symbols here. This is about your part of fortune, and so these we don't lay out. We don't have those particular signs, symbols, and they're not things that I use for this. So that's the end of our planets, and we now have everything in my chart. And it's as easy as that. And it's very interesting. You know, I had some aha moments, seeing, and I knew these things, but seeing, in the third house, which is about knowledge and communication and these sort of things, having obviously my sun and also having Mercury, which is about communication, these kinds of things, that was interesting for me to see. This was interesting, seeing that Chiron, North Node, and the Lord of Karma, so to speak, Saturn, all in this very powerful ninth house, which for me is that sort of overall journey that we're on. And it was interesting that that was in Aries, because I actually have a lot of, elementally, I have my actual technical highest is fire, even though I'm an air sign, but they're pretty balanced between fire. No, actually, that's wrong. My strong element is fire. My secondary element is actually earth. So that's interesting, being a Libra, which is somebody who's really in my, I'm in my head a lot. But fire is very strong, by far the element, than my other ones. And so that made a lot of sense to me when I started. Well, I've always been a creator in terms of writing. When I started painting, I'm like, where is this coming from? Well, I actually have a lot of fire and creative energy in my chart. That I didn't, pay a lot of attention to. So that was kind of interesting. That popped out just by kind of taking a look. So we can see my rising sign here in Leo. We can see my sun is in the third house, in Libra is my sun sign. And then my moon sign is in the fifth house with Sagittarius over here. And this is just a lovely look. And then I just took the earth and just kind of set it down here. The earth was in the season of fall for me at the time of birth, because I'm a September baby. So this is my birth chart all laid out. And so it's not too difficult to do if you just kind of get your chart in front of you, get your cards, I would say, obviously if you've been shuffling them, put your houses in order, put your signs in order. It just makes it the easiest to go through, as well as your planets, because they go around in a certain order because of the way that their orbits are. So kind of have those, everything in order when you start, and that gets pretty easy. Just start by laying your houses out, then get your signs put into place, and then start dropping in your different planetary bodies so that you have them in front of you. So I hope that this helps. Again, a few people have been asked me, and I know some people have asked Patrick as well, how I did that when I took the picture of that. And so this, I hope, will make that helpful to those people who are wanting to do the same and just wanted to see it walked through. And again, if you have any astrological deck that has these 3 parts and you have your birth chart, you should be able to do the same thing. So I hope you enjoyed this. Have an absolutely wonderful day.